Wow, this shield has never been nerfed as far as I know. And if you want to use a build that literally makes you impregnable while dealing damage, then this build is for you. Not to mention the weapon needed as well. This only works with piercing weapons. It's what allows you to block while attacking. And the absolute best way to do this is with a fingerprint stone shield. By the way, before this new DLC, I never fought 𝐻𝐽, the Lord of Blood. But when you defeat him, you'll get his weapon, 𝐻𝐽's Sacred Spear, a trident that serves the exact purpose you need for this. It has a skill on it called Blood Moon Ritual. It's where you raise your sacred spear and pierce the body of the formless mother. Stab it up 3 times, which you have to do yourself, creating explosions of blood with each thrust. It will also coat the armament with blood flame for a while, so increased damage and more blood loss buildup. But the skill itself, when that blood is dropped from above, is an AoE attack that deals tons of damage to anyone within its vicinity. I usually do this before fights while the fingerprint is unequipped, and it's actually the perfect weapon to give to your mimic tier because he'll use it religiously, which is something you can't really afford to do while in a boss fight, especially against the golden hippo. He's relentless, constantly charging at you, trying to bite and crush you. So I decided to use this build to take him out easily. Just stand in front of him and block while attacking and causing blood loss buildup. And sometimes you can perform your guard counter, which stuns him a lot quicker. And you must be careful. So the resistance is 100% with the stone shield. The only time you take damage is in his second phase when those porcupine spikes come out. I think it's magic damage or holy or something like that. Or when someone deals a status like fire, lightning, whatever. I don't know what it is about us humans with how when we want something, the anticipation is so high, we'll go through almost anything to get what we want. Speaking in terms of this Sword of Night, just the thought of it made me relentlessly grind for it until I got it. And I was having problems with this boss in particular. The Mother of Fingers. She's the main boss in this quest line that Ymir gives you, and you need to beat her in order to get the Sword of Night. And I was trying all kinds of things, all kinds of techniques and builds, and I'm sure that there are a lot of ways that you can play in order to beat her, but this build that I'm using is the only one that really worked like a charm. I literally bullied this boss, and I barely took any damage. The funny thing is though, my recording software stopped recording right before I killed her, but I did. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to get the Sword of Night, and you can see what's happening here. And I know this is an old shield, but it's aged like fine wine, and it's still viable in the new DLC. In fact, it's probably more viable than most of the shields that there are now. But the great thing about the fingerprint stone shield, in this boss in particular, is that it has 100% physical damage reduction. Now, most of the other shields have that as well, but the fingerprint stone shield's stats are significantly higher than every other shield. Stack that with the bonuses that armor gives you and the Drake talismans, you're going to be reducing a lot of damage coming into you, if not all of it. I also utilized it to get through to that wooded area, the one where you can't ride your horse through there, where there are seemingly unkillable enemies and with an ominous aura as you travel through this dead forest. Yeah, that boss was very annoying, and the stone shield came through for me once again. But let me break down in this video in detail why it's so strong and how it works in relation to damage negation when it comes to status effects like fire or anything else. And here's the thing, I was a bit confused about this. You know the Drake talismans, right? Flame Drake, Bolt Drake, etc. Well, they don't work exactly the way you think they do. As you can see the stats on any shield, but let's talk about the fingerprint. For example, the fire. To determine the effective fire resistance when you have both the Flame Drake talisman and fingerprint shield equipped simultaneously, you need to understand how these resistances stack. Here's a simplified step-by-step explanation, because you can't simply add the percentage of the Flame Drake talisman on top of the 81% absorption the fingerprint shield provides, because when you block with the fingerprint shield, the 81% fire absorption allows for you to take only 19% of that fire damage. The Flame Drake talisman reduces the fire damage you take by an additional 22%. So assume you're hit with a fire attack that deals 100 fire damage. First, the fingerprint shield blocks 81% of that damage. Now the Flame Drake talisman reduces the remaining 19 damage by 22%, which is what the +2 Flame Drake gives you. 22% of 19% damage equals 4.18 damage reduced. So 19 minus 4.18 equals 14.82 damage taken. Therefore, the combined effect of the fingerprint shield and the 𝐜𝐴𝐺𝐸 talisman, if getting hit with 100 fire damage, means you effectively take around 14.82% of the original fire damage when blocking with the shield and having the talisman equipped. So don't think of it as the fingerprint grants 81% absorption, then you slap on a 𝐜𝐴𝐺𝐸 and you suddenly are immune. It doesn't translate to a simple percentage addition, but rather a layered reduction process. And if you apply this concept to all of the status effects like lightning or magic, you will see similar results. And this doesn't include all the other resources that can give you more absorption, like armor. And depending on whatever boss you're fighting, you can tailor your build's resistances to that particular boss's statuses. So here's what I'm using, and it's only going to get stronger. I just found an upgrade to my Bolt Drake in the new DLC, so it's even more absorption to lightning. And for this build, you'll need good endurance in order to wield the fingerprint along with Mohgwyn's Sacred Spear and other armor that will help. 60 endurance is good for me, and most weapons I noticed in DLC scale with strength and dexterity, so it's why I've prioritized them here. And I got just enough arcane to activate the Blood Moon Ritual and some other points which go to my preference. This is one of those builds you should always have in your back pocket for situations that can get a bit tough. Definitely going to be upgrading this as I go, and I'll try to become even more impenetrable as I am now. This just makes me feel like a beast, and if you put this together, you will too. Let me know what you think of this, and if it helped you out in any way, like the video. Also subscribe if you feel inclined. I'll see you in the next one. Be right out.